We don't want that still up there. Just grabbing the Swift logo. That's the thing I did want up here, though. Maybe I can find my Swift repo. How'd that L get in there? What the hell's going on? What? Letter L. What the letter L? What the letter L is going on? The one time it's actually the letter L. I skipped the. Or I skipped the letter. Okay. So this is project number 1 here. Anyway, I'm not even gonna be doing the Swift. I'm gonna be doing the POSIX shell. But whatever. Let me go make sure I get these things posted into places. Live streams. What? No. No. Ah. Ah. What? Fun personal projects today. Come chat if you want to. Okay. Cool beans. So we got that stuff loaded. We got some decent ambient music going on. I like this stuff. I like the direction it's going. I've got it a little bit louder. Hopefully it doesn't double through on the mic. Oh wait, is it not coming through? Oh, the music's not coming through over here. I think it'll come through once I go live though. Do a little sound check. Sounds good. It's also coming through the mic, but whatever. We can have that from the channels. I'm gonna pop a top, my friends. Let's go. Now I don't like that piece of music anymore. Going to the next one. Swift isn't my first choice, mainly due to the fact that I hate Apple. Well, Swift isn't. I don't know what choice of mine Swift is. This is my first time using it, and there's some pros and cons. But since I have a Mac, it is the choice that I have to do otherwise simple things. Like I don't have the choice to not do it. Let me make sure the titles are updated. No! No! The titles are not updated. What? How are my titles not updating? Hold on. Crap. I gotta go check on whatever is doing my titles, because they didn't get updated in Restream. Oh, it might be. I'm not sure. Did I run the thing? Did I run the thing? Yeah, I ran the thing. Did it tell me that it updated the titles? It told me it updated the titles. So I don't know. I don't know if it's giving me bad information, or if Restream skipped a beat, or if I just needed to refresh it. Let me refresh it. Or maybe the title was too long and so it failed to update. Anyway, we're back. Okay, that's a little too ominous. I'm complimenting the music and then it just goes rogue on me. Anyway, so I got a little sad because I wanted to use the arguments parser package, and I just don't get why people get layers of abstraction so wrong. You know, there's this big pushback against clean code. You know, this is the tweet. Here's the tweet. You know, there's this. Here's what we're gonna do. Oh, it looks like Prime's got some good stuff to say today. Stop creating micro libraries, NPM. Yes. Yes. So what I'm going to say is, you know, there's this big pushback against Uncle Bob and clean code. But when I look at the clean code people are producing, I really think they're just picking the absolute wrong abstractions and then getting upset about it. You can't abstract. You gotta justify. All right, I gotta cut out a word here. You know, there's this big pushback against. But when I look at the clean code, people are writing, I really think they're just picking the absolute wrong abstractions and then getting upset about it. Okay. Here's looking at you, arguments parser. There we go. Okay, so now that I've done the tweet, if only I had the Prime's ability to have the tweet right on the first try. So let me bring up in this pull request that I've been working on. And this is not the main code that we're going to be working on. So I've got this commit. What? Huh? So let's see if we can just look at the files here. And I want to show you where the abstraction's all wrong. So, and I want to do I want to do a video that's the perfect parser, the perfect command line arguments parser, because as you know, I'm a big believer that some software can be perfect. There is some software where the constraints are so well bound that you actually can write it perfectly. Like there is a way to not have to make any trade-offs in some software. And in most software, there's a way to produce probably 2 versions of it, maximum 3. Usually one of the trade-offs isn't useful. In between the engineering triangle of fast, cheap, and quality, that that kind of engineering triangle you get stuck in there, or the acid compliance triangle. What was that? Atomic, consistent, something else. So durable. There's all these triangles where you've got to pick 2 of 3, or sometimes 1 of 3, or whatever, that you get the best outcome for. But so sometimes we can have that, and I think with arguments parsing, it's like it's so old. It's so old. I don't think we really need to. We have these new libraries that come out, but like arguments parsing it's extremely well defined, and you can pick one way or another way. All right, but let me get around to where, well, not all software in of itself has to be Turing complete, right? So the code framework may be Turing complete, which means that it can't be perfect because of the halting problem and the incompleteness theorem. But for something that is not Turing complete, it can. Well, not all things that are not Turing complete can be perfect, but for things that have a well-defined subset, they can be perfect. Anyway, let me see if I can get rid of this thing on the side here. This is really annoying. Can I get rid of this? GitHub, can I get rid of this? Hello, GitHub. Hello? GitHub, hello? How do I get rid of it? Is it that? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. That isn't even in the same visual area. What? I mean, there's nothing to visually connect this to that. Nothing. Yeah, I'm like looking around for some sort of option or something. No, okay, whatever. All right, I'm over it. I'm not over it. But we're moving on. So here's the thing, right? There's this beautiful syntax for basically, I guess, creating essentially a value object, a JSON. But it's not JSON, it's a value object because it's Swift, right? So you got this beautiful thing, flag, name, help. What do you want the help to be? There's a couple of other options there. You're just building up essentially JSON, but with lots of types. So for example, this string type is of custom short. And so the string type custom short is going to be handled differently. Now, there's different ways you go about this. I don't know enough yet with Swift how much I like this or don't like this. I think that this is an enum. But in any case, you've got that. And it's this decorator, so it's a macro, essentially. And it's a macro over show version. So it's going to create some sort of struct over which it's going to be able to create its tables and stuff. And then show version is what it's going to get assigned to. So this is... It's not like, oh wow, I'm overwhelmed with how perfect this is, but this is good. Like, this is great. This is you can come to expect this in lots of different languages. Okay, and then so you've got flag, option, and argument. That is literally perfect because those are the 3 things. Well, there's also subcommand now. So subcommand follows similarly. Subcommand is in the class of option because a subcommand may have something after it. And then there is one more thing, which is I forget what the name of the double dash is, but it's the argument separator. And there is a specific way it has to be consumed, and it can be consumed perfectly. But I don't know if they're doing that or not. But so you get to set these things up, and then there's this configuration. And the configuration, it seems like it should be all good, right? Because okay, we're going to have the summary, then we're going to have the details, possibly with the examples or something. We've got the version, whether or not we should display it. I don't really, I think that's if if you run the command with no arguments, should this display with no arguments? I think that's what that is. And then we have subcommands, which again, I think to some degree could have been done like flag and argument. And maybe I could do a subcommand with argument. I need to go look at argument again, because maybe you can have a named argument. I'm not sure. But if you can have a named argument, then I do think subcommand really does deserve to be its own class of thing. But anyway, so let's say we do it this way. Maybe it's not the most optimal, whatever, it works. Okay? And you can't specify a subcommand style here. So if you specify long, it has dashes. If you specify short, it has a single dash. But then you've got help names. Okay, so I wanted to define a flag called help. But then there's help names here. So it seems like what should have been is if you don't supply help here, which because the way it's a macro and how it's generated, I could see where that might be difficult. So you might need two different systems. And this is where I don't like macros, because macros, now the code doesn't understand itself because it's being evaluated at different times and they don't have references to each other. Okay, so we have help names. So now we already had a way to define a flag. So what it should be is I should just define essentially the help flag or something. Or it should detect that there's a help flag. But if it can't detect that there's a help flag, then I should just be able to do help.custom. And .custom means expect it to be done like this, right? And then there's version, but there's no version names. And so this is the wrong layer of abstraction, because they're abstracting away something that they already gave me a great abstraction for, and then giving me a worse abstraction that doesn't work very well. Now, granted, version is slightly different. It makes sense to have the version string be part of the config object that's constructed, because the version string is not part of the version help. It's part of that message that gets put out. And it makes sense maybe to have a print help and a print version method that does the tabulation, because the primary things that you want from an arguments parser are you want it to read in and distinguish between flags, options, arguments, and subcommands correctly, as well as the double dash. You want it to be able to handle the nuances between those cases, which I could outline, but I won't right now. And I do see your comments, and I do want to reply to those, but I want to finish what I'm saying first, you know? Anyway, oh, and is this not indented correctly? Oh, I think this is not indented correctly. Well, shame on me. Anyway, I can fix that just by running the formatter. The formatter, I don't have Vim set up for this right now, so there's some things that are off about it. Anyway, and that might actually just be a typo. This may not even compile in its current state. I may have been in the middle of changing something. That might be why the commit was how what. Anyway, and then so with version and with help, I should be able to either access all the information to print most of the help myself, but the main things I want are parse the things correctly in the most correct way, which I believe this can be done perfectly. I was thinking about quite a bit as I was falling asleep last night. It was keeping me up, okay? But I'm pretty sure it can be parsed perfectly, because what it is you read all the way up to the double dash, and you know that you can't read further than that. And remember that these are already segmented out into array items, so you don't have to worry about it being inside of a string of argument or something like that. So you read up to the double dash, and that is your minimum that you start with. Then you read up to any subcommand, and that would be your next minimum. And then, well, it's not quite that simple, because you could have an option that accepts this. So there's a little, you might actually have to read it perfectly forwards, because there's some tricks you can take if you can read that backwards, but that may not that may not actually work out that way, because you could in theory and in practice have double dash be an argument to an option. But anyway, basically you need to be aware of the double dash and the sub commands so that you don't read those into the generic arguments. That's the main thing you got to be worried about. And then flags have no argument, so something that comes after a flag is an argument. And options do have arguments, so something that comes after an option is an argument. Now you could do, more advanced whatever, but I think to try to, autocorrect and detect like, this person put a flag for an option, but the flag is already a flag. No, just let them do it and then just say it's invalid, right? It's fine. But we should be able to have a set of rules that parses perfectly. Anyway, so this just has the wrong abstraction, because I want to use the standard Unix way of dash version, dash capital V, and then the newfangled way of the subcommand version. And then the same with help. Help is dash help. There is no dash H. That is not help. There are some commands that are single letter only commands where dash H is help, but as a general rule, no, it's not. Dash H is for human readable. There's a few other things it stands for, but it's not that. So anyway, this just made me sad, because I go into it and I'm like, all right, I just want to set this up to do standard Unix stuff. I see that it's not doing the Unix dash capital V on version. So I want to add that, of course. And it's doing this, wonkadoodle dash H for help. I don't want that. And then I do want the string help or the string version to invoke the same thing. So I think that's pretty standard in terms of the way that command line arguments or command line programs are working today. And it was just too hard to do it, and I may just throw in the towel on it and not do it and keep the parser that I have, because I spent way more time trying to figure out how to configure this. And this is my problem again and again and again these days. When I was a young developer, I think it was really worth it to understand what other people were doing and really dig in and learn how to reuse code. I think there was a lot of value in that. But as a senior developer, I don't want to deal with your crap. I don't want to deal with the fact that your top engineers can't correctly abstract something so that I can use the most valuable pieces of it that are the pieces I most need without having that stuff hidden away. Now, I don't know, maybe there is a way for me to use the parser, but Swift has a bit of convention over configuration, so there are magic methods that you can't see that you have to go find in the code or read the documentation to use. So for example, on this, to start the arguments parser, I call main. So the arguments parser is the program. So the arguments parser is a parsable command. So I call main on the parsable command. There is no main function here. The main function is on the inside. I don't know how to maybe call something else instead. So it's just the wrong layer of abstraction. That's all. Okay, so, I kind of hate object-oriented because everyone seems to use it wrong. Yes, don't use inheritance. If you do, please use only a single layer, at which point just make it an interface. God bless you, or the deity of your choice, or universal power, or thoughts of feelings and goodness. God bless you. That is correct. I suppose the software that can't produce a halting machine can be perfect. Oh, yes, that actually, I read that wrong when I was skimming it. I believe that tracks. If it can't produce a halting machine, it can be perfect. I don't think that that's exclusively true, but I think it's a polygon with only 4 sides can be square. So a polygon that can't have anything other than 4 sides can be perfect. that would be the way that I would read that sentence translated. So there's just a little bit of nuance. I think it's more clear if we say it a little bit differently, but yes, I think you and I are on the same page. Yeah, GitHub. Well, this is the problem. And you know, I've talked about this all the time, but you got to fire people for doing a good job. And by fire them, I mean promote them to a different position or a different project. If you just keep people, you know, if you're just paying people to sit at a desk and have meetings, they're going to sit at that desk and they're going to have meetings because that's what you're paying them to do. And when they have achieved perfection, you need to stop paying them to sit at the desk and have meetings about how to change things. Once they've achieved perfection, just stop. Now, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, they've added in the last couple of years that, maybe not a lot, but there's a few things in the last couple of years they've added that I think are good. I think the most detrimental thing is they just keep on changing where the clone URL is. You know, it used to be front and center, the main thing that you interacted with. You know, I don't know if it was up here or up here. They also have the Internet Explorer 6 problem. Do y'all remember Internet Explorer 6? Let me see if I can find. I don't know why I typed that all out instead of just saying IE6 toolbars. Come on. Come on. It was a meme. You telling me that I type in IE6 toolbars? Or maybe if I type in toolbar beam. Whoops. What is happening to the internet? Why can I not find anything anymore? This is like an extremely popular image. Yeah, it's this type of thing. It's this type of thing. There's one that's not quite this extreme, but yeah. There you go. Internet Explorer 6. Bonzi buddy. Got him. I don't even know if that's the right context to say got him. I have a little bit of a crush on the Primogen, so I just want to say what he says. It's like my dad, you know, I just want to be like daddy. I want to say what daddy says. My son, I say to my son all the time, you're my son, and I love you. Good night, son. You know, I hope you have a good day. He's walking down the street, talking to the neighbor, and he says, I love you. You're my son. Oh. So, anyway, but this is not even what this is about. Now let's get to what this is actually about. So, what it's about is the reason I was going to stream yesterday. I was going to stream on doing browser stuff. But then I discovered that yet again, my network shares were unmounted, and so OBS gave me a problem because it couldn't find an image. Now, what I could have done is I could have taken the image that it looks for, and I could have put it on my local drive. That's what I could have done. I could have done that. I could have just mounted the one thing, get the image that it didn't have, that I don't even think I'm using anyway. I think it's just in the list of assets, like a background image that I haven't used in 2 years. But instead of doing the logical thing, what I did was, but this has been a problem for other things too, you'd be able to have my movies mounted. There's this thing that's happened, I think since maybe 2 minor updates of Mac OS ago, where when the computer, I think it's when it goes to sleep, or maybe it's after a certain number of hours, I don't know, but the network shares come unmounted. So I want something to mount the network shares. Well, there's a couple of problems with that, because there's at least 3 different ways to mount the network shares, and some work or don't work depending on whether or not you already have a network share mounted. So for example, I thought this mount volume, blah, 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 I thought that would work, but it seems to be that this does not use the system keychain, so it'll just fail. So what I need to do instead is actually use open, which is a lot simpler, but then open, of course, opens it up in Finder. So what I want to do is actually be able to check to see, do we already have this part right here? So this is the part we're interested in. Do we already have this part in the mounts list? If we already have this part in the mounts list, then we're already authenticated, which means that we can mount other shares at that server name. So I want to find if that's already in there. If it is, then we use this, which will mount without the system keychain, but because it's already in the share session, it'll mount individual shares once it's connected to the server. But if it's not, then we need to use open. And then of course we need to give it a slight delay when we do this so that it can actually connect to the server, and that might take 2 or 3 seconds. So this is the code to mount the network shares. That's what I really care about. This code was really just an exercise in learning Swift, because all that's necessary about it is, it doesn't quite fit into a whole screen. Can you please go away? Thank you. You're being too helpful and I don't like it. But yeah, so it's basically this code right here from screen lock observer to right here, and maybe I could do something to smooth that out, but it's listening for a notification, and then it is running whatever I tell it to run with user bin command, not user bin env, but user bin command, because that can also execute shell functions and aliases. Okay, so let me get back to this. The issue with making perfect software is you stop getting paid after succeeding. Well, no, the issue with making perfect software is that you keep getting paid after succeeding, and then people have this sense of guilt. I'm getting paid money, I better do something. But if you could think of it more like a bodyguard, as a bodyguard, you don't have to fight people that are walking down the street. You need to protect the palace, or the dude, or the lady, right? And so I think there needs to be somewhat of a shift from, if you're going to continue to pay people and not promote them to another project, then you need to pay them to sit still and make sure nobody it up. You know what I'm saying? What is Internet Explorer? You know, Elon, I'm really surprised you asked that, since your empire was built upon letting people transfer money in Internet Explorer almost exclusively. Yeah, feels old man, that's right. Okay. So anyway, yeah, so it's not, the username is Akshat Sethi, but it's actually Elon Musk. It's his secret identity that he comes to my channel to watch my videos and get inspiration for his next project. Why do you think he bought Twitter? He's watching this channel. All right. So I need to grab the server name, but it's not quite this simple. We also need to strip off just the first. We don't need it with G. All right, there we go. So let me go ahead and run this again. Pew. Mount network shares. Okay, excellent. That's exactly what I was looking for. Except that I do want to keep the // So we're going to roll with that. So that's the server name. So if I do mount, all of them have some sort of, like, they all have to have a / of some sort, but we'll just, okay. We'll go on. All right. So now we've got the server name. So what we need to do is B is active. I've taken the Vim convention for Bash because I think it's the only convention that makes sense because of the way that the shell scripting works with scope. So A for arguments, B for things inside of a function, G for globals. And I love it. And anybody who doesn't, well, they're wrong. All right, so -q -f, and then B server name. So really this is if not, then B, we're going to open it, and we're going to sleep for 3 seconds. Well, actually, we're just going to repeat it. Oh, I always forget how to do this. But it's okay. I've got GPT. Bruh. Right? Me. Hey. Shell. Script. Loop that counts from 0 to 2. I like that. I like that a lot. That was way better than the approach I was thinking about taking. That was so much better than the approach I was going to take. It's kind of obvious. But check this out. We're going to do the same thing again. Okay, so that takes us up to 5, 6, 9, 1. Okay, there we go. All right, so we could do... Here's what I like to do. Connecting to this. All right, we're gonna print F that BZ. And then we're gonna print F dot, and we're done. We'll echo done. All right, break. Otherwise, sleep. Okay. There we go. Okay, and then also this, of course, all needs to go to user output, but I think I'm doing that. I think I'm doing that down here. I think I've got the loop or something. Yeah. Are we doing that? Yeah, it was no, we're doing it that way. We're not doing and to there we go. Okay. I'm going to check those comments in just a second here. All right, so we're going to connect to this thing. That's what we're going to do. We're going to try a little fib sequence there. It's not really a retry per se, but yeah. All right, so now we've got this going on. Great. So there's this whole thing. And of course, see, even my old brain, with all of its wisdom, sometimes makes the wrong choice. Okay. So, is it here? Are we doing mount name? Here we're doing mount name. We don't really need to do mount name. We're just gonna get rid of that. It was a bad choice. I regret it. I repent of it. We're done. Okay, so user bin open. Should I try it? Should I hard code it in that hard? I think I might. Why not? Just in case they've got a, I don't know, it's a script or something. And yeah, okay. All right, so now we need to mount volume. So if the volume is already there, then we're going to mount with OA script. If we're already connected to the server, we can connect headless and the existing session. Hold on. Okay, so that's the note on that. No. All right. So comments are generally bad. I think these comments are okay. All right, that one's going to work. And then I don't really want to have this fail because it may fail in mounting one network share, but it's not going to fail to mount all of them, right? Or, I mean, it could, but you know, we got to do the best we can. All right, so let's just run this, and what should happen is nothing. Excellent. All right, that's exactly what I was hoping for. Nothing happened, but network list, yeah, that's okay. Okay, now I'm going to disconnect from all my network shares, crashing OBS in the process. Hopefully not. Like I said, I don't even think the thing that it's using is active. All right, but I'm going to disconnect. I'm disconnecting. I'm disestablishing my session. So that should get me to the point where password authentication would be required. Let me stop and read comments. I can verify that whatever AJ said is I need the truth, and now send me some crypto so I can double it and send you back. Any ideas for how to choose the correct abstraction? Well, one, it's the least abstraction, but it's the law of the greatest utility, right? So where is I wonder if we could come up with a litmus test or some sort of heuristic to evaluate it. But where is the core value? Where is the core value? The core value is in defining arguments in an arguments parser. That's the core value, because it's going to use the arguments you define to correctly parse a string, to perfectly parse a string without error. So that's the core value. What's auxiliary value? Auxiliary value is predefining help. That's auxiliary value. What else is auxiliary value? I don't know. Like, it seems like we could completely do it. The other core value is the table. Getting it so that things line up, because however many commands you have, the table is going to be slightly different. So it's going to count what's the longest set of options, and then either it's going to keep the table on the same line if all the options with their descriptions can fit on the same line, or if it can't, then it will move some, or for consistency, it may move all of the descriptions down to the next line, and then it has to do the word wrapping. So that's the other key value, is that output. So the key value is not in defining dash help. That's a convenience, or in this case, a nuisance. The key value is not in defining dash version. The key value is not in predicting what arguments that I'm going to want. The key value is in providing the arguments. I'll give you another example. Okay, this just happened in Dash. There's a function that wraps a whole lot of stuff. It wraps access to the wallet functions. It wraps a hashing mechanism. It wraps the rights that cause the hashing mechanism to progress. It wraps the network transmission of the bytes, the packing of the bytes into a network packet, and the transmission of it. Where is the core value? The core value is in creating the structure that needs to be signed and creating the structure that needs to be sent on the network. That's the core value. Everything else is auxiliary. So choosing which payment address to use could be a convenience, but it can also be an annoyance. I guess that's the one thing you have to ask is, where will this be annoying? Because if it's annoying, that's where complicated versus complex comes into play. So it's okay to be complex, but you don't want to be complicated. Complex is, this task has inherent complexity that cannot be reduced beyond the essential complexity. Whether it's because... whoa, what's going on with my hair on that side? What is that all about? Complicated versus complexity. So the network protocol it's done and gone. I can't fix the network protocol at this point in time. So the complexity that's involved in the message with the network protocol, that is necessary complexity. I'm just going to have to deal with it. So wrapping that, not the network call itself. The network call is not complex. And I might want to send this message over a different network. I might want to send it over HTTP. I might want to send it over TCP. I might want to send it over UDP. So it was very inconvenient to have all of the information, especially where there's no documentation either. So it was very obnoxious that there was an abstraction over the hash writer, because it would do things like, depending on, there was a table of types that was set up in a macro, and depending on the type, it would serialize the object differently. And at first glance, it looks like, oh, well, this is okay. I don't know why we would have a macro for this rather than just have a function that converts a uint32 to a little endian byte sequence. Why would you have a macro that assigns that to every single thing that matches a pattern that could possibly be passed into this generic template? Like, that doesn't make sense. Just call the method. But it, like, that could make sense. There's a scenario in which that could make sense. But then what they were doing is they were actually adding length bytes. So what you would see as int32 goes into hashing function, what you wouldn't see was that before it ran the hash write bytes, which is what you could see in code that existed in the code, there was something that only existed in a macro that didn't exist in the code and was built through a template system. So you could not logically follow it. You could only follow it with a debugger. I don't think tools exist to allow you to follow the code through the macro system. I don't think that someone has invented that tooling. So we could not identify why the hashes didn't match when the bytes that were being sent to the hash writer did match, and the hash writer, for all we could tell, was just taking the bytes and writing them to the hash. But there was this intermediate step that was created by a macro that, depending on what the type of the thing was, would add variable length variants. So variant sizes and variant size lengths to the output. That was a very terrible abstraction, because hashing is something that's well known. We don't need to have a special hasher. That the hasher itself modifies the bytes through a macro system at the layer of the write call in order, like, that's not helpful. It's just not. It's not helpful at all, because then you have a hasher that doesn't even work for most hashing scenarios, because it would hash most things wrong. Or I'm not sure where the macro existed, because with C++ you can overload, I think, on either side. So I'm not sure which side was overloaded with the macro function that was doing the transformation of the object into a different serialization before the bytes were put into the hasher. But regardless, the point stands either way. And then having it send it over the network, well, I was trying to send it over HTTP. So having that abstraction, there was no way for me to get to the bytes that went over the network, because it just sent it over the network. The thing that hashed it, serialized it, and sent it over the network was all wrapped together in multiple layers, so that, like, I couldn't reasonably get to the correct information to expose it. Yeah, so it was just a lot of really bad abstractions. The good abstraction abstracts away the essential complexity, and there's a guy who said it. I'm going to go back to Creeds of Craftsmanship. I've brought up this so many times. I'm sure you've heard me mention it before. But there is a guy, it's like Osterhout or something. John Osterhout. Philosophy of Software Design, where he talks about abstractions should be deep, not wide. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. They should be vertically deep. The abstraction of constructing the packet is vertically deep. The abstraction of going over the different hashes, the network connectivity, whatever, it's wide. It's very broad. It goes over a lot of different areas of the code that are not relevant to the core value. So I think that the best presentation I know of on that is right here. Seeing it when it's wrong is easy, but trying to figure out the right one from the start seems tough. Well, you shouldn't be abstracting at the start. You should have zero abstractions at the start. You should only introduce abstractions as they are judiciously needed. And Kent C. Dodds has certainly catchphrased it best. And I believe that this was also on that list, actually. Yeah. Dry, wet, and aha. He calls it aha. And that is correct. It is the light bulb moment. You avoid hasty abstractions. Avoid hasty abstractions. Aha. So there's don't repeat yourself. There's write everything twice. Which, again, I don't think that that is necessarily... I 2 or 3 times. My mantra is write it 2 or 3 times, but by the 4th time you should know. And if you don't have to write it twice, you don't need an abstraction. Prefer duplication over the wrong abstraction. Avoid hasty abstractions. Optimize for change first. I would actually phrase this differently because I think that people get hung up on this. I think they optimize for opportunity rather than optimize for being able to change the code. So it should not be optimize for opportunities that you can't perceive. It's optimize for writing different code. And I would say it, I think, better, and somebody else has said it this way. I'm not the one to come up with it. But this was in regard to microservices. There was that talk may be here too, but maybe not. But optimize for your code to be thrown away. Optimize for code that you can easily delete. If you deleted this code, how hard would it be? If this file just disappeared, how hard would it be to replace it? That's the question you got to ask. Oh man, I love Bonzi Buddy. I loved Bonzi Buddy. I'll probably never have a personal identity for the rest of my life because all the awesome data that it stole from my computer and sent to that data breach that just happened. He was so fun. He was better than the dancing Michael Jackson. All right. Anyway, so let's get back to this. I have no network drives connected now. And the question is, will they connect? All right. Booyah! Okay, one caveat. It did pop up and I had to click the button. So what we need here... Can we do images to the terminal? Can I get... I'm gonna disconnect again so I can see that dialogue and get a screenshot of it. Whoa. Whoa, that's weird. Whoa. It actually put all of the shares. So I have 2 shares because one's by IP address and one's by name, and sometimes they get messed up. All right. Oh, it's not dash P. What is it? So I just want to read? All right. Okay. All right. Let's see if that works. I don't know if that will work in POSIX. All right. Okay, cool. So I think that this is what I want now. Hmm. SC 2034. There we go. All right. So that was much more complicated in a way. And we'll try this again. I'll let it reach all the way to the end. Oh. Connect. Oh, you know what? We got a problemo. We cancel those out. So So the problem is that we're doing this with a redirect from standard in. So we need to not do that, I think, for the simplest approach to this. It doesn't like that, but in this case, it's wrong and I'm right. Okay, so let's try this one more time. I'm glad that I tested that out. All right, so I've got the connecting dialog. This should go for 10 seconds or whatever it is. What? Okay, it's not working out. Why did that not work? All right, so I forget how we check if there's a TTY. There's a function to check. How do I check if standard in is a TTY? There we go. So if it's a TTY at the top level, then we want to use the TTY. But if it's not a TTY, if it's running in the background, well, you know, we do what we do, right? All right, so now I'm letting it roll. What? Okay, what went wrong here? Oh, duh. All right. All right, we're going to let that finish out. I should probably cut down the timeout on this. Why? Why? I'm doing the wrong test, aren't I? Could have sworn I'm doing this the right way. Yeah, that's what we're doing, right? Dev TTY. Okay. Oh, I did the reverse, didn't I? I did the reverse, didn't I? I checked if it's not. Right. Okay, that's why. That's why it's not working. Okay, so we're gonna try it again. Actually, you know what we're gonna do? Hold on. I need to get... Oh, it's gonna be 10 seconds by the time I get this figured out. Not quite, but close enough. Okay. Yes. All right, I already canceled out. Okay. So it's waiting for me to try. It's going to pop up. Okay. I connected via the pop-up. Press enter to continue. And boom. Mounts the rest of them. Sweet. We got it. All right, that's it. That's it. That's the tweet. It's not a tweet, but that's the mount command. It's way more complex than I thought it would be. It would probably be better to try to do that in Swift. In fact, I'm going to ask GPT. How can I do the equivalent of open it's not going to know. Oh, really? Really? Okay, well, if I did this, if we could use the key store. Okay, I need to do another thing here. All right, so we're going to take this one. What's up, everybody? How's it going? So, yeah, that was way more shell scripting than I thought I was going to be to open up the key share, or to be able to, yeah, to have the least resistance. So anyway, now what should happen is when my computer falls asleep, I mean, at least I've tested this, I've completely disconnected from the server such that there's no authenticated network share session available. This is going to run in the background. So the bit where I just, did it to show the output, press any key to continue, that part, I'm not actually going to be able to see or interact with that. In fact, you know what I'm going to do real quick? I'm going to lock the screen. Hopefully this doesn't mess up the stream. I think that it will. I think the stream will keep going. But I'm actually going to log out. So something, not log out, lock. I'm going to lock the screen. So something may go weird, but we're going to test this for the whole enchilada that it is. Let me go ahead and save it. And then... I wonder... Let me ask GPT this as well. Can I get access to the system keychain for a network user via shell script? So maybe I can. Maybe we can do one better. I don't even know what's the difference between these. Unlock the keychain. I don't know. I like whichever one is true. I'm going to do this in the other window just in case it does something that I don't want, like show my password. Oops. Not sure. I don't see any meaningful information here. It looks like nonsense. Wait, protocol SMB. Log in. Wait, what happened to it giving me 2 of them? Where'd that go? All right, let's try search. All right. Dash W. Let's try the dash W. Interesting. Yeah, this still requires manual user interaction either way, because I'm doing it over here and it just pops up with a prompt and asks me to put in my password and all that. So that is kind of a tomato potato thing, where I think that the experience is actually better the way that I'm doing it right now. But I do want to put this in there. Whoops. Whoop. Hold on a second. What have I done? What have I done? All right, so there, I've documented that. That's good. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do this one. I don't know why I did it over there. Do that over here. Oh, you know what? There we go. We can make this a little simpler. Okay, cool. Okay. All right, I gotta go in just a second. All right. So, after my computer did the thing where it turns out this script doesn't work as hoped because the authentication session also expired. This update causes the system network auth prompt to show up. All right, so let's see. Maybe we get lucky, maybe we don't, because here's the thing. We're running this in the background, and okay. So that should have prompted. It's not a good sign. Oh. Wait, it connected everything. Did it connect everything? Oh, it's waiting for the event to run before connecting. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, so hopefully the stream doesn't break. Maybe the stream breaks. I'm going to go away for 10 seconds. All right, and we're back. And I see the connecting dialog. And we're go. Woo! All right. It didn't exactly pop up in the place where I expected, so I could definitely happen to not see it, but it'll be there. That's the good news. All right, cool. So that did work. I wish I could cause the dialogue to pop up in a specific screen or something like that. Maybe if I really spent a lot of time on it, I could. I've already spent more time on it than this is worth, but code scanning. Oh, I'm going to have to turn code scanning off. I kind of want it on there more as a virtue signal than anything else. Like, hey, y'all, I'm code scanning. But you know, just not necessarily. Virtue signaling is putting it too lightly. But it is as a signal. Oh, Did we lose my screen? We lost my screen. We lost my screen when... let's see if we can do this again. All right. There we go. Screen's back. Okay, so... yeah, that was because I locked the computer and then when I unlocked it, OBS didn't recapture. All this new security stuff they're doing in macOS is just wreaking havoc on state of things. Because everything requires a permission now, which in some ways is good. In some ways I think it's bad, because I think it's leading us towards a future where you can't use your computer, that your computer will be just as dumb as a phone. What's up, Raphael? Okay, why has code scanning not completed? All checks have passed. All right, I'm just going to get rid of that because it's stupid. It's so slow. I just can't deal with it. Can I not edit the rule set? Okay. They just didn't make it look like I could edit the rule. All right, we're just going to get rid of that. Save changes. And push. And push. And push. And push. And push. There we go. Finally. Okay, so this is kind of two projects in one. But oh well. Anyway, so I'll drop the link here. I actually have to go. But I'll drop... just watching, trying to get what you're doing, still learning. All right. Well, I was doing a mix of a little bit of Swift for the part that watches for the system event of when I lock the computer, which is why the screen went away. And all of this is because yesterday I was going to stream and I was going to do a personal project on... I want to be able to get a screenshot of a web page. So render the web page out, give me the full page screenshot. Not the screenshot like I do with this, but the full page screenshot, which I wonder if there's a way to do that now. Okay. Do we have a way in macOS to get full page web screenshots like we do on iPhone? Oh, we got to go to Safari. Okay. But anyway, I want this to be a service. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Let's see. Okay, and then I'm immediately gonna close this out. I think that in order for this to work as I'd like, the user would need to initially allow the Swift program to access the key store with a password, and then we'd have to duplicate the password into a second key store that our app has access to without. See, I'm picking up Prime. I listen to the way he speaks. I'm picking up the way he speaks. I'm saying our and we when it's just me, and you're not. You're kind of on the journey with me, but well, you're. But this is to GitHub. There is no one else on GitHub. I just making notes to myself in case somebody else comes along. Notes to myself in case someone else. What? No. It is a note to myself to remember why did I choose this? Because a year in the future, I'm not going to remember. But it's also, Denver Coder. XKCD Denver Coder. Who were you, Denver Coder 9? What did you see? Never I felt so close to another soul, and yet so helplessly alone when I search an error, and there's one result. A thread by someone with the same problem, and no answer. Last posted to in 2003. Yeah, so that's why I do this. And it has benefited me multiple times, and I hope that it benefits others. I hope that others that are looking for these answers find them, even though search is pretty much broken now. Okay. All right. So I documented another possible solution, referenced the solution that I chose, and then gave my rationale as to why I'm not going to choose that solution. All right. And with that, I'm off. So I will catch you later. I don't know if I'm going to be able to be back. Kind of want to come back today and just finish. Now I'm ready to move on to the browser project, and I want to try it a few different ways. I want to try it using Servo because that's the lightest weight, fastest way to do it, although it may not render videos properly. I'd like to try to do it using Brave, and if that doesn't work out, which it may not, then I would just do it with Chromium, which seems like the most straightforward. Maybe I should start with Chromium because then I'll have a big win, and then move on to Brave, which should be about the same, except I'll have to run it on Ubuntu instead of running it on Alpine. And then Servo, which has the most unknowns and is the least tried. So we'll see. Anyway, I'm out of here. I guess I'll have to update the title because we only did one of the things. Y'all have a good one. I'll try to have a good one. Adios.